What do you think is going to happen to the Republican Party? You sounded concerned then, and you always have been concerned about certain aspects of your party. Do you think it's moving in the right direction?
We don't know yet. I don't know yet. I think that in the latter months of the campaign, the party moved further to the right. Governor Palin, to some extent, pushed the party more to the right. And I think she had something of a polarizing effect when she talked about small town values are good. Well, most of us don't live in small towns. And I was raised in the South Bronx, and there's nothing wrong with my value system from the South Bronx. And when they came to Virginia and said, you know, the southern part of Virginia is good, but the northern part of Virginia is bad. The only problem with that is there are more votes in the northern part of Virginia than there are in the southern part of Virginia. So that doesn't work. But it was that attempt on the part of the party to use polarization for political advantage that I think backfired. And I think the party has to take a hard look at itself. There's nothing wrong with being conservative. There's nothing wrong with having socially conservative views. I don't object to that. But if the party wants to have a future in this country, it has to face some realities. In another 20 years, the majority in this country will be the minority. There was an article recently in the New York Times saying that most of our urban cities now have a minority majority as its population. And the Republican Party has to begin appealing to Hispanics, to blacks, to Asians, because that's who we have lost to a large extent in recent elections. And you can't appeal to them just by saying, you know, Horatio Alger, pull up yourself, you know, pull up by your bootstraps and no more welfare and all these sorts of loaded statements. The Republican Party has to now start listening to the African American community and the Hispanic and Asian and other minority communities and see what's in their hearts and minds, and not just try to influence them by Republican principles and dogma. And so I think the party has to stop shouting at the world and at the country. I think the party has to take a hard look at itself.
Governor Palin as the standard bearer for the next election would not be the right direction.
I think she came out of the national stage a little too soon. But she is she's a smart woman, and she's a very distinguished woman. I just don't think that she contributed to the ticket at this time. And we're going to have to not just rely on slogans. You know, Joe the plumber and they're socialist, and that kind of labeling, which shifted almost every day, was not an effective response to what Senator Obama was doing in showing some consistent set of views with respect to how to deal with the economic issue. And that, I think, hurt Senator McCain. And I hope the party will not only analyze the problems we have with minorities, but take a look at how Senator Obama ran that campaign and the kinds of things that work.
Let me ask you about one social issue that you were associated with, which was Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the policy toward gay people being in the military openly. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the country has moved to a place where we could reevaluate Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
We definitely should reevaluate it. It's been 15 years since we put in Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was a policy that became a law. I didn't want it to become a law, but it became a law. Congress felt that strongly about it. But it's been 15 years, and attitudes have changed. And so I think it is time for the Congress, since it is their law, to have a full review of it, and I'm quite sure that's what President-elect Obama will want to do.
Let me ask you about how to organize a White House, because President-elect Obama has talked about a team of rivals, and the thing I was wondering about was how come President Bush's team of rivals didn't quite work? There were strong personalities with strong views, you, Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld, but it seemed as though it didn't quite work.
We got a lot done. It wasn't we were fighting for 4 straight years over every issue. But there were disagreements, serious disagreements about how to handle Iraq. There were serious disagreements in the aftermath of the collapse of Baghdad. And there were serious disagreements about detainee policy that were well publicized. And frankly, the NSC system didn't function in a way that I thought it should have functioned, and we didn't always vet everything in front of the president in the manner that I thought should be vetted. And for that reason, I was somewhat disappointed, and I At one point I said to the president, it's time for you to make changes, and I should be part of that change.